All right, welcome back for another edition of Calhoun County's Most Wanted, the program where you can help make Calhoun County a better and safer place by helping us lock up some bad guys. I'm Chris Wright, along with our Sheriff Matthew Wade, who's a little bit more tired than I am. I got to bed after midnight last night, but I think it was a lot later than that for you.
It was, last night's tornadic event in Calhoun County. Just thank God at this point, nobody has lost their life, which I think is a miracle in amongst itself.
It really is. Wow.
Hit close to home for us, hit close to my house, actually a lot of damage to retired Sheriff Larry Emerson's home, and a couple of our deputies' houses are damaged. So there's damage from Etowah County, Calhoun County line around South Side, Big Oak, all the way over to Nance's Creek, which is on the east side of the county. Of course, everybody's focusing on Jacksonville because that is the most densely populated part and the hardest hit. But there's damage from one end of the county to the other, and I know there was at least 3 tornadoes that come through last night in around the Alexandria, Wellington area, and just know that your sheriff's office and our deputies were out. They didn't seek shelter. They were out trying to help people, and it was a wild night.
I've got a good friend in Jacksonville who's disabled, in a wheelchair, and it passed right by him. He heard it going through there, and he's stuck in with no power and nowhere he's able to go, and a scary situation. But as you said, fortunately at this point, no fatalities, and that is a wonderful, wonderful blessing. We can handle everything else.
Absolutely. If anybody wanted to volunteer, they set up a volunteer station at the Jacksonville Community Center, and they have put a curfew in. Unfortunately, there are people that like to take advantage of this situation and commit crimes when people are already down. And Jacksonville and a lot of different law enforcement agencies, fire and rescue agencies will be around and trying to protect those assets and protect those people's homes, and we'll arrest anybody we find out after the curfew at 7.
All right. Well, let's talk about the work that our viewers have already done in helping us lock up some bad guys.
One arrest this week brings our count up to 4,133 people arrested and put behind jail, all because you wanted to get involved, and we really appreciate that very much.
Yeah, when we have, very rarely it happens, but occasionally we have just the one, it's always a great reminder that we've never not had at least one.
You've never let us down, so we appreciate that, but we want to keep that streak going. So.
All right, so we'll have the first half of this week's lineup coming up after the break here on Calhoun County's Most Wanted.
And welcome to this week's edition of Calhoun County's Most Wanted. First up on our lineup this week, Wilbert Dodd. Mr. Dodd, last known to be living in Wellington, he's wanted for failure to appear on domestic violence by strangulation. And meet Sebastian Ledoux. Mr. Ledoux, last known to be living in Piedmont, he's wanted for failure to appear on illegal possession of prescription drugs. And this is Trinity Massengale. Miss Massengale, last known to be living in Milton, Florida, and she's wanted for a probation violation on possession of a controlled substance. And take a look at Garrett Heathcock. Mr. Heathcock, last known to be living in Ohatchee, he's wanted for failure to appear on domestic violence third assault. And this is Paris Marshall. Mr. Marshall, last known to be living in Gadsden, he's wanted on a probation violation for robbery first. And we'd like you to meet Nathan Johnson. Mr. Johnson, last known to be living in Jacksonville, he's wanted for harassing communications. And last up for the first half of our lineup, Trayvontarius Tucker. Mr. Tucker, last known to be living in Anniston, he's wanted on a probation violation for possession of marijuana first. And that's it for the first half of our lineup. Stay tuned for the second half later in the show.
All right, we'll have some more bad guys for you in just a few minutes, but right now we want to welcome an old friend on here, and she's not old, but she's been a friend for a long time. Trace Fleming Trice from Second Chance. Good to see you, Trace.
Hi, thank you for clarifying the old comment. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
The camera could easily tell that you're not.
Aw, that's nice.
You're wearing teal today. Why are you wearing teal today?
Because it's almost April, and April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month. It's our month to wear all the teal all the time. In fact, we're actually going to be joining the Alabama Coalition Against Rape throughout the entire month to try to turn Alabama teal.
All right, so teal is not just because it's a color you like. You've got a reason for that color.
We really do. Teal is the awareness color for sexual violence. So people all over the entire country recognize teal as a color for awareness and for prevention as well.
And it stands for something, doesn't it?
Well, we are, with our new idea for the Alabama Coalition Against Rape, well, when we're turning Alabama teal, teal is going to be standing for Think, Educate, Act, and Listen. And the idea behind that is that everyone can get involved in some form of awareness or prevention about sexual violence issues.
And you know, it is something that we all do need to be aware of because, Sheriff, you'll back me up on this, everybody is connected to someone who will or has been a victim of sexual violence.
Unfortunately, that is true. Last night during the middle of the tornado, we were dealing with a domestic violence call where people's homes were being destroyed, and deputies had to come off of that to go answer a call where a man had a gun, and it was a domestic violence situation. So unfortunately, it's one of our more prevalent calls, and it doesn't take a break even for disasters.
So Trace, for people that aren't aware of how big of an issue this is, what are we looking at?
It really is huge. We know that globally 1 in 3 women will be a victim of some form of sexual violence or physical assault somewhere in their lifetime. That's huge. It's roughly, with the current numbers, it's roughly about 1 billion people on the planet who are dealing with that. In the last few years, we've seen under 2,000 reported sexual assaults, but statistically it's much more than that because it's such an underreported crime. So that's part of the reason why we need these awareness months. We need to wear teal and we need to be talking about it, because every time we talk about it, we take away some of that stigma and fear about it.
And it's so hard if you don't have a reason. You don't just walk up to somebody and say, hey, let's talk about sexual violence.
Oh yeah, exactly.
But by having April set aside for this and having several events going on in April, we have these opportunities to initiate that discussion without making it a very personal discussion if it doesn't need to be.
Well, I think it's one of the most brave conversations anybody can have, either about awareness and about what we value in a community, about supporting victim survivors of these crimes. But also, it's one of the bravest things for somebody who can say, this is what's happened to me, this happened to me too. And that's why it's so critical for people to really start that conversation by believing the person when they're first talking about it, which is part of another thing that we're participating in. Nationally, on April 4th, it's National Start by Believing Day, and Second Chance is participating in that too. And we're inviting the entire community to be out there with us for that. The idea behind Start by Believing is the idea of when someone comes to you and says, this is what's happened to me, you can start by a place of, I believe you and this wasn't your fault. If this happened, then this wasn't your fault. And that can encourage further conversations and possibly, and we're hoping, more reporting.
That's so important because so many times it took a lot of courage for that person to make that first statement, and if they don't get a positive reception, it goes back inside and never comes back out.
It's really difficult. So that's why it really is one of the bravest things that somebody can do, is to be able to share that. And it's also incredibly brave for somebody to listen and really hear that other person. Because sexual violence happens to so many, it's just statistically impossible for somebody not to know another victim of sexual violence. So when somebody says to me, well, I don't know anybody, like no one's ever told me, it's like, well, that's because they haven't told you yet. So your response is really critical. The community's response is really critical.
And it's important for our deputies out there on the front lines to know as well.
We have come a long way in law enforcement from how we investigate sexual assault from 5, 10 years ago, how it was handled to now. It's just we've been educated and we've been trained, and we've come a long way in how we handle that to ensure we're protecting the victim. So we have come a long way. There's always room for growth, but we have learned and grown, and we're doing a better job than we used to.
So a lot of good things are coming up here in the month of April, including a Journey for Hope walk at
Yes.
Choccolocco Park. And we need to take a quick break, but I want to talk about the events in April and especially that walk when we come back here in just a few moments on Calhoun County's Most Wanted.
And welcome to the second half of our lineup. First up this half, Henry Phillips. Mr. Phillips, last known to be living in Lineville. He's wanted for failure to appear on distribution of a controlled substance. And meet Forrest Maddox. Mr. Maddox, last known to be living in Gadsden. He's wanted on a probation violation for possession of a controlled substance. And this is Rosalind Montgomery. Miss Montgomery, last known to be living in Anniston. She's wanted for an FTA, failure to appear on theft of services first. We'd like you to take a look at John Graham. Mr. Graham, last known to be living in Anniston. He's wanted on a probation violation for possession of a controlled substance. And have a look at Tellis Lowry. Mr. Lowry, last known to be living in Anniston. He's wanted for a probation violation on possession of a controlled substance. And last up in our lineup this week, Wesley Brown. Mr. Brown, last known to be living in Jacksonville. He's wanted for a failure to appear on use and possession of drug paraphernalia. And that's it for our lineup this week. If you know the whereabouts of these folks, please give us a call at Crime Stoppers at number 256-238-1414.
All right, we'll have the Crime Stoppers segment of the show coming up here in just a few minutes, but right now Trace is with us from Second Chance, and we're talking about the month of April, which is Sexual Assault Awareness Month.
It is.
And we don't have time to talk about all the different things that you're going to be doing during the month of April, but we can talk about a few of them.
Oh yeah, we have so many different things going on. It's going to be such a great month, and we don't have enough time to talk about them all. But one of the best ways that people can find out more about the different events is to be looking at our Facebook page, Second Chance Inc. on Facebook. We are constantly updating and adding things, so we really encourage people to like us and to just check that out. But there's so many other things happening for sure.
Including one on my birthday, April the 19th. I'll just throw that out there for anybody who wants to buy me a present. But so what's happening on April the 19th?
Well, April 19th and on April 5th and the 19th, I should say, is that the Sexual Violence Office for Second Chance is really excited to be starting a new group. And this group is special because it's particularly for women of color, where women of color who are also survivors of either domestic violence or sexual assault can join us and be a part of this group. It's survivor-led, which we think is really important for support groups. So they'll come to the space and let us know what they would like to see, and we'll develop the group from there. So those groups are meeting at 5:30 at their Sexual Violence Office, which is at 617 Wilmer Avenue. It's between 6th and 7th Street. So
why is it important to have a separate group for women of color?
well, we know that every survivor's experiences are very different and unique, and we need to be adamantly pushing for ways to create more opportunities for women of color to really feel like their voices are heard also, because we know that often these crimes are disproportionately targeted towards them. So we need to do everything we can as agencies to open space that's just for them, so that they can know that we want to support them in every way possible and use what we have, our privilege, to open those spaces up.
One of my favorite things that's coming up in April is going to be the walk out at Choccolocco Park, because as we were talking about earlier, it's so hard to start these discussions sometimes, but this is a place where someone who's been affected and never really has talked about it, they can really have an opportunity here to come out and be in a safe place and say as little or as much as they want to, with a high confidence level that whoever they're talking to, whether it be a stranger or somebody that they know, is going to listen to what they're actually saying.
Truly. The Journey for Hope Walk is one of our biggest events of the year. We're so excited, and because this year it's sincerely, I think, going to be the very best one we've ever had. We're having it at Choccolocco Park this year again. We're using the walking trail and one of the pavilions. We're so excited to announce that we have community partners in addition to Regional Medical Center, who is joining us to provide a community picnic, which is wonderful. They've done that for several years now. We're so thankful for that. We're also having different groups like Yellowbird Yoga will be out there. They'll be doing yoga classes the entire time. We have a young women's empowerment group that will be out there. They're doing crafting projects. We have the local League of Animal Welfare, which will be out there too. They're going to have puppies that people can you can smell them and you can walk them and you can talk to the puppies. They'll have a whole puppy area. And we have also the Gadsden State Community College will also be out there doing massage chairs. The entire event is completely free. We have also removed any barrier that we can possibly remove. So childcare is available. We'll have advocates out there. People need to talk. It's just such a important experience, one that we often see about 100 people at, but we'd love to see more. And one of the things that we love about it is that because everybody's healing experience is so unique, what we've done is really encourage that to continue. So people can walk as little as or as much as they want. Some people stay there long after we've left, and other people are there just for a few minutes, and we support any opportunity for them to come out.
And it's important to note, this is not an event that is exclusively for victims of sexual violence. Everybody is invited to be there, and it's important that we have people there just showing their support.
Oh, absolutely. So this walk is open to victim survivors, but you're absolutely right that the community is really encouraged to come out. Loved ones, people and groups that want to show their support, want to make sure that they are out there in full force. We're letting people know that not only will we stay with survivors and help them, but we're going to stay with them the entire journey, which can be sometimes in a person's entire life.
Sheriff, it's just so important to have events where the community can come together like this.
Community is everything.
I completely agree.
Well, again, the Facebook page where people can get more information on this and all the other events.
Second Chance Inc. on Facebook. Just click the events and we'll have them up every day.
And Second Chance Inc. INC, not
Yes.
INK. This is not for tattoos.
No, not yet.
You can have a tattoo or not, it doesn't matter. All right. Thank you very much, Trace.
Thanks so much for having me.
All right. The Sheriff and I will be back in just a few moments. We've still got the Crime Stoppers segment of the show and our Crazy Criminal of the Week coming up on Calhoun County's Most Wanted.
And welcome to the Crime Stoppers portion of our show. We need your help on these next two cases. On March 11th, a theft of property occurred at a business on Gladden Lane East. Various auto parts and scrap metal was stolen from there. A red Ford F-150 extended cab, short bed pickup truck was seen at that location with two white males. And your last case, between March 14th and March 15th, a home on Cochrane Springs Road was burglarized. A Rayboy saw and wooden jewelry box with contents was stolen from that location, including 3 class rings from Albertville, Ohatchee, and Seminole High Schools. So if you have any information on these cases, and we hope you do, please give us a call at Crime Stoppers. That number, 256-238-1414.
Stupid! You're so stupid!
All right. Sheriff, our crazy criminal this week is actually from Alabama, up in the North Alabama area, Madison County. Got arrested for trying to kill a cockroach.
That's interesting.
He tried to kill this cockroach by trying to set it on fire in the lobby of his apartment building, and there was some damage to not the cockroach, unfortunately, but the apartment building.
It's hard to kill a cockroach. So, get this right. So he tried to burn the cockroach and burn his apartment complex down.
It
So
didn't
he's-
burn it all down, but yeah.
So it's not that he had criminal intentions, he just wasn't real smart.
Yeah. Arrested for arson all the same. You're responsible for your actions, even
Oh,
if they're
that is-
not what the result may be different from what you intended, but you can still be charged with the crime.
Absolutely. Man, that's rough right there. You know, Just get a little bug spray maybe.
Of course, the owner of the apartment, I'm sure, is still not. Now he's got a burned apartment, and everybody in town knows that he's got cockroaches in his apartment, and he's got at least one apartment that's going to have a vacancy.
That is true. So he's lost yeah, that's rough right there. You know, there's no saying you can't kill a cockroach.
Yeah. All right. So bad news there. All right. Well, that's all the time that we've got for this week, but we'll be looking for you again next week, hopefully without a blowtorch and hopefully not in the lineup on Calhoun County's Most Wanted.